Well, the new album, Angel or Alien, is only a few weeks away now, maybe even less by the time this video goes up. So everyone will be more excited by them, would hope. Obviously, it's a very interesting album title with plenty of really cool connotations and things like that. Where does the title come from?
It came from Joe and Ron. And what's interesting, so they're the singers, the two vocalists, and they both write lyrics and they both write, you know, the melodies and the patterns and everything, in collaboration with our label, when it came time for one of the last songs actually on the album, called Angel or Alien, which became the title track. So interestingly enough, the keyboard that you hear in the beginning of the song was actually an outro to like one of the other songs. Just wasn't even really anything. You just like it was like a hip hop beat and that keyboard part or something kind of random. And our label said, you know, we think there's something with this keyboard line. Can we make it into a song? And then like I made the intro, and then Nick made the drop part, or you know, like the hook part, and like it just kind of grew out of this fun collaboration process. And because it kind of grew together, that's why the label was kind of in on titles with it, and we kind of ended up just building this whole theme. And depending on who you talk to, it means something different, which I think is cool, and I think it's important for you know, artists connecting with fans. Like you can drop something that's like if you write a song about suicide and you know, getting over it, or you know, not giving into it, and it's clearly about suicide. Okay, that's what that is, and you connect with the listener based on a topic that you've presented. But a lot of times in my band, we don't get so detailed on things. So funny enough, you talk to Joe, Angel or Alien has a meaning. Then you talk to Ronnie, who does it with him, and he's got his own meaning to it. And so it's fun, and people can kind of draw their own, but you're going to see good and evil. That's one way to look at it. Not that saying aliens are evil either. You know what I mean? Like there's just so many different ways to look at it, that depending on who you talk to, you get a different answer. So it's funny, I've been asked a few times like what it directly means, and it's just hard to answer because anyone I talk to in the band, particularly the guys who kind of came up with it, it kind of has a deeper meaning to them and a different meaning to each of them.
Cool. And music-wise, obviously that seems to be a little bit more your area of expertise in the band, although I'm sure you could still write some excellent lyrics. What makes this different from the Simulation?
So oddly enough, it's partially the Simulation in a way, because basically we had 16 songs for the Simulation, and it was going to be a part 1 and a part 2. And there's 2 reasons for this. One is when you put out like really long albums, there's a portion of the fan base that they'll click the ones on iTunes with the star next to them, or they'll listen to it in their car on a drive, but not every drive is as long as the album. So what you find in one way, or for many ways or reasons, that sometimes the back half of an album doesn't get as many plays as the first. So the goal was to split them in 2 releases. So 2 8-song releases. So each song really gets its moment, because we don't half-ass a song, even if it's at the end of the record at any point, you know what I mean? That was one reason. And the second reason is, as you put out a record as a band, like temporarily, no matter how big you are, you're just a little bit bigger, or a little more talked about, or a little more hyped. And then that goes up, and then the album's out for a while, and then you fade back to your kind of resting point. And it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying, obviously, when there's a brand new song, everyone's talking about you. So the goal with here so we split them into 8 songs, and then as soon as we feel like, you know, the hype from Simulation 1 dies, then we hit Simulation 2, and boom. So that way we ride out this whole year talked about, instead of just a hot 6 months, and also each song gets its moment. But by the time we got to release Simulation 2 or B or whatever it was going to be called, just because like I'm always writing, and Cameron, like our core writers are always writing. By then we had like, 6 more songs. So, and you're always kind of most excited about your most recent work as an artist, whether you paint a picture, sometimes your newest is your best because you refined a technique, or as a musician, your last song is the one you want to go and show your friends, your newest creation, you know? So we were just excited about those songs, and we were like, you know what? if we put out Simulation 2, these other songs won't see the light of day for 2 years. So we're like, you know what? Let's separate this from the Simulation and just make it its own thing, which became Angel or Alien. And so when you say what separates it from the Simulation, not much, because 8 of the songs were meant to even be under the same umbrella. 6 of the songs are new. But other than that, I would say one difference is, so Cameron, the drummer, and myself, like, we've always been like 2 guys that bring like a skeleton of a song to the band. And obviously it's a whole collaborative effort by the time it comes out, but like, you know what I mean? Like delivering the initial demo to the band, it's kind of always been Cameron and me, regardless of who else is playing guitar at the time, blah, blah, blah. It's just, that's kind of how it always started. And now what makes things a little different is, since the Simulation, we have Nick Rossi, who joined the band. Was playing bass live, but he's a guitar player first. He's a guitar player in my band, rock band In Motive. So I was working with him over there. And then when we needed bass, he came over. And then him being just such a good guy, and we got along. So I knew I got along with him, but the rest of the guys living with him on a bus and getting along with him, then we're like, okay, now you're in the band. So then he started writing songs as well with Cameron and me, like skeletons, you know, the beginning of a song. So now what separates us is we have a third bulk songwriter, which we never really had, which is nice. You know, we've had, you know, certain guitar player will contribute a couple solos, or a certain guitar player will be like, hey, try this and try that. But like to have a whole new person bringing things to the table is just really refreshing. So it makes the whole process less stressful, adds a versatility that we haven't had, just because you have a third mind creating, you know, bass ideas. And so that's what really, you know, makes it different. Also, the pandemic kind of situation, obviously terrible situation, but just gives you time to do things you wouldn't have time to do. So we had time to switch him from bass to guitar, which is his natural instrument, the guitar. And we had time to not rush anything really, whether it came to art or concepts or music videos or anything. Like, we really just took it slow, and all these things might not have happened with such attention to detail if we were rushing through tours and traveling the world like we used to. So the pandemic kind of gave us an opportunity to refine some things and make some positive changes.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, you know, in a way that it really has given bands like a different outlook, or a different way to approach construction, if you will, of a song. I was doing some research, and I saw Nick had gone from bass to guitar. So I was wondering if he's recorded bass for this album, and what the current situation with the bass player in Born of Osiris is.
Yeah, so all the songs on the Simulation and on this one, I recorded the bass for.
Okay.
So, and you've heard me on, you know, a ton of Born of Osiris records playing bass. It was just never really talked about as much, just because we either had a bass player or it was just a sensitive subject or whatever. So it's nothing new to me, but this is the first one I played bass beginning to end. It was really fun. I had a blast with it. It's a much more relaxing instrument for me to like record, you know like the crazier passages. And if it is a crazy passage, it's like fun to do on a new instrument. But as far as live right now, basically when we lost David, who was our bass player forever, it wasn't like an issue. You know, there was no personal drama. There was no fallout. He's our brother still. So for me, like, you know, and maybe everyone in the band, if you ask them, you might get a different answer. But I know this, we all love David. And I think the door is open to him, at least from me, for him to come back at any point in time. So right now, like the immediate future will probably just be a track of bass guitar. But you know, I don't think that's our forever plan. It's just what we're doing right now. And then hopefully, you know, maybe Dave wants to come back. If not, maybe down the road we reevaluate and find someone else.
Cool. I was looking at the comments on the new videos and that kind of thing. And there's a lot of very positive comments, but every so often you'd see, yeah, it's good. I miss Dave. Where's Dave?
Yeah. We all miss Dave. He's a great dude. We love him, man. He's a brother, and I'd do anything for that guy.
Speaking of the music videos, obviously you've done 2 thus far, at least as far as I know, the title track and White Nile. There's some really cool imagery. There's some really cool themes and stuff going on. How well do you think that the videos themselves and the images represent the album as a whole, or the vibe of the album?
Really well, actually. Really well, actually. And it's probably one of the first times I can say that, because previously, like, we always looked at music videos as like big expenses, and they are. But like, we came from like, Born of Osiris was signed from MySpace, and it didn't matter back. Like, there was no, YouTube was there, but it wasn't a huge deal. It was still like the MTV2 hard rock, whatever, late night shit that you could make a video for, but we were a little extreme. And there was no Instagram, there was no Twitter, none of that shit. And so I feel like we've always been behind when it comes to media, or you know, visual media. And so when it came to music videos previously, like, if you told us you could have this for $50,000 or you could have this for 10, we'd be like, oh, let's just do that one, you know. This time, since there was so much downtime for the world and for Born of Osiris with the pandemic and stuff, we wanted to come back with a bang. We wanted to not, and now YouTube's like everything, and social media is like everything, which is a shocker to me. But it is what it is. And so we're like, you know what, we can't go simple with anything here. So we actually spent the most money we've ever spent on music videos. It was a crazy bill. We did 3, so one's still coming that you'll get soon. And I do think that it represents the music correctly, because it's the one in the desert looks like a movie to me. It's beautiful. And you know, it's just like anything in life, you get what you pay for. And we put money into these, big money, and they come out looking appropriate to the cost. So I actually am very happy with it. It was, like I said, it was wild to pay that much for the first time in our career, but it's a thing where we see the product and see what you get, and we don't regret it at all, and love the videos, our favorite videos.
Yeah, again, they look fantastic. They really do. And it's kind of funny as well, like hearing you talk about the old days of MTV2, because I'm just about old enough to remember those days, you know. So, like, if you were really lucky, you'd get a Nate on Death video or something. So.
Yeah, Headbangers Ball. That's what it was. I forgot.
That's the one, man. Yeah. Over here, it would be like 1 to 3 in the morning on a Friday night. That was your lot.
Yes. Super late. Yeah.
Again, speaking of imagery and all this kind of thing, the artwork itself is really interesting, because there's so much going on. There's all different what's the word? Allusions to different religions. You've got like some Egyptian stuff in there, as well as the angel wings of the Hindu woman. Again, how well do you think the art represents the music, and how satisfied are you with the art itself?
Yeah, so the art off the top was a journey for us, because we've always had a certain style of art and we felt at home with it. The space and like the beings and all that stuff has always represented us, but we're with making changes and with what we feel is like an addition to our sound with Nick, and just coming back after pandemic, we just figured we want to switch it up. So it was actually uncomfortable at first to find new artwork, and everything we saw, we were like, oh my God, this just doesn't feel like us. And it was actually scary, you know, and I mean, scary, you know what I mean? But like, it was just, it was a shocker at first to try to look at things like that. And so it took, I'm going to say 6 months of the pandemic to get artwork, because we were just not happy. We're all very strong-minded dudes and with a vision, and when no one wants like one person to like take a lead, we all need to feel like we're all in on this decision. We all believe in this, you know, artwork, not to have like 2 guys that love it and a couple that hate it, blah, blah, blah. So it took months and months and months to land on the angel image that we have and find the artwork. And then we hired, and they're from like another country. I don't even know if like they're, a couple of people we were talking to like didn't even speak English, so we had to have our guy Daniel McBride from Sumerian talking to him, and like, so we just really went all over the world to find the coolest artists we could find, and we found one that we're happy with. And then we got 3 images from him, the cover, then we got one with the angel, we got an alien one, and then we wanted I think it's called an Enneagram, or something, maybe I'm butchering that, but basically any way you flip it, it says the same thing.
Okay.
And so we did that, was a whole nother artist. So this is the first time, again, that there was no skimping on anything money-wise or attention to detail-wise. And so you can, there's just a team of people that brought this together. And there's also like symbols in the booklet that correspond with letters. And so when you get the album, like there's actually like messages in the book, but you have to decode them. So we just, spared no expense when it came to details and fun things like that. As far as these symbols of like Christianity and like Egyptian, like I think it represents us very well because like, I don't know where Joe Burris, our keyboard player, who's heavy with our lyrics, so he's important in our lyric process. I don't know where he stands now, but for the bulk of our career, he was Christian and Ronnie was not, and they're writing lyrics together, So it really was. I think that's why sometimes you get things mean different. Things mean something different to each of them, even though they're both writing lyrics. So I actually do feel that it represents us well because, again, not sure about now, but for the bulk of the career, Joe's been a Christian, Ronnie wasn't. They were writing concepts together, and there was always this like feel of both, or even a fight sometimes, like a disagreement at times. But that's what made it fun. It made it unique. And so I do feel like it represents us as individuals. It represents the concept, angel or alien as well. The Osiris, Egypt stuff. But like when it comes to pyramids, they're tied in with the aliens as well, depending on what you believe, that's everyone's got a different thing they want to say, but yeah, just like where the pyramids point into this, the sky, and like it just all gets, you can go down this rabbit hole, like Ancient Aliens, that show talks a lot about it all the time. And they went off the tracks a little bit after those first seasons, but yeah, there's just tons of ways that it all kind of combines and connects, but I do feel like it represents us pretty well.
Yeah, cool. You need the guy from Ancient Aliens just to do a small clip album of the month. I'm not saying it's Born of Osiris, but it's Born of Osiris.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I remember watching season 1, Ancient Aliens, and it was mind-blowing. And I think a lot of it made perfect sense. And now it's like they're on season like 20, and like they'll see like a mouse in the street and be like, it's an alien. I'm like, all right, we're taking it too far here. But I did enjoy the show, and I learned a lot from it in the first couple seasons.
I must confess, I've never watched it. I've just seen memes and stuff like that.
Yeah, you don't want to watch too much of it. Don't get me wrong. Just stick to like one season, first one maybe, or don't.
Well, once again, the album is being released through Sumerian. I believe all your albums have been released through Sumerian. What's the, maybe secret's the wrong word, what would you credit as being the reason for such a long-lasting relationship with the label? A lot of bands don't get that, or they hop around different labels and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think that we've known each other from the start, both of us. I think we were like the third or fourth band. The owner was working out of his mom's kitchen when he signed us. We loved The Faceless, which was like his first signing. And so he was just getting started, and he took a chance on us, some kids that partied way too much. And our lyrics were about like World of Warcraft and shit when he found us at like 16. And for us, it was like, what do you want us to talk about? Politics? We're 16 years old. We're partying in high school. You know what I mean? So it was just like, we just were this odd team, and we came up together. And as Born of Osiris grew, it helped Sumerian grow. And as Sumerian grew, it helped Born of Osiris grow. And we've known each other since there was nothing, no money, no negative, if anything. We've came up together. Their family, Ash, the owner of Sumerian, was the best man at my wedding. It's just, it's a lot more than a label, and it also, there's sometimes where a label just does label things. But Sumerian's always gone above and beyond for us and do things that a label doesn't need to do. And honestly, there's been times where we're like, stay in your lane. But then there's been times where it's like, they've really helped us out in a rut, So it's just been a family relationship since day one. There's been times where, I've gone to negotiate money, and I'll have this big pitch, and I'll go to Ash, like who I consider, family. And he'll be like, hey, ditch the pitch, ditch the whole thing. Just talk. What's up? Like, don't give me this whole presentation. Talk to me like a brother. You know what I mean? And so that kind of stuff in business goes a long way, for me at least. And just loyalty. I think it's unless we've just grown together, and I think it's important to be loyal to people that have been good to you, and unless they're holding you back in your career. But that's not going to be Sumerian, But yeah, lots of reasons.
Cool. I mean, it's refreshing to hear, because Like I always hate reading that when like a band signs to a label and it's, oh, we welcome such a band to the family, or if you work somewhere and the company insists on calling the employees a family, it's like, fuck off, you don't mean that. So to know that it goes back such an embryonic stage, you know, when, like you say, when he's working out of his mum's kitchen and you're still in high school.
Yeah.
So to grow together like that, it really is like a family dynamic. It's quite refreshing to hear.
Yeah, and like even when we got involved, like the first booking agents we ever met were through Sumerian, and the first anything we ever had in the game, we were introduced through Sumerian. And obviously that's grown now, and if we wanted to find other labels, we could, but it just feels so like home, you know?
Obviously, it's hard to do an interview about discussing the pandemic because it's affected everything. It's really hit the music industry. We seem to be sort of coming out of the worst of it now. There's tours being announced and things like this. Do you guys have any in mind or any scheduled as of yet?
Yeah. So at the end of July, so our album comes out July 2nd. At the end of July, we're doing our Texas run, which is where I live in Dallas. And it's been open for a while. Texas kind of controversially opened really, to some people way too soon. So we could have done this a long time ago, but we also wanted to see how it would go with the rise of things. Like we haven't had to wear a mask and we've been full capacity everything for months at this point, which, you know, some places in the world are still wearing masks at low capacity. So, and it's obviously been politicized, unfortunately, so heavily, but we just wanted to make sure that if we did Texas, that it was going to be well. So I had actually been to a couple concerts in Texas before and nothing went wrong. And so we're like, okay, you know what, we can do this. Cause no matter what we believe about it, the COVID and the vaccination, obviously, again, so political. At the end of the day, we don't want people to come to our show and get hurt or get sick and then give it to a loved one or whatever. So we just waited a little bit, but it's going well in Texas. So we're going to do that at the end of July. We're going to do US, like some of the smaller markets. Like instead of Dallas, we'd maybe go to Fort Worth or a suburb, you know what I mean? Instead of Chicago, you maybe go to Joliet. So that would be in the fall, US, all over, but not really the major cities. And then winter in December, we're hoping to go to Europe and UK. That's the one that's the most up in the air for me, just because borders and people from other countries, like I don't know where they are, and I don't know if each country's like I don't really just know what their protocols are yet. But at the moment, December, Europe. And I just, I hope it happens, but again, I don't know where they are with their COVID. And then when I said we weren't going to do the major cities in the fall in the US, that's because we're going to come back at the end of January and February and do the major cities. So it'll be 2 US runs, a little smaller cities in the fall, bigger cities in the early next year.
Oh, that's cool. It's funny, I've only seen you once, and that was in Florida. That was in Fort Lauderdale with August Burns Red and Error. It was a couple of years ago now. And
oh, nice.
So
yeah,
I don't know where that ranks in big or smaller cities in America. I don't judge. But it's just, well, not even judge.
Which city was it again?
Fort Lauderdale.
That can go both. Some of them can go both ways, and usually, if you're on the fence, like, is it a major city or not? That's actually sometimes a good thing because you can use them as routings on a B market or an A market. So yeah, like, because Texas is kind of the same thing. Like, it's so big and there's so many cities that it's like, okay, Austin, Dallas, Houston are big cities. What about Corpus Christi? Is that, or is that Lubbock? What about Lubbock? You know what I mean? So, but you can use them on an A market tour to route to the next one, or you can use them on a B market. Those particular ones we're doing on this Texas thing, since it's only Texas, we're doing A and B, like we're doing all the cities for a week. But yeah, we're excited. And yeah, that August Burns Red tour was really fun. I remember that. I've always loved Era too. They were on our label for a while, and I think they put out consistently good records.
It's funny because I was staying with a friend in Miami, and he didn't want any money, but he insisted I buy him a Born of Osiris shirt. as like a thank you for letting me stay.
That's awesome. That's cool.
Lee, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me today, mate. I really do appreciate it. And I wish you only the best with the album. Hopefully in December you can come over the Atlantic. As you can see, the Euros are on behind me, and like even that's up in
I'm
the air.
seeing that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, all the best.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you, and yeah, thank you for having me. I know there's a delay here, but thank you for having me, and I appreciate your time. And sorry I was a minute late, but yeah, just thank you, and I hope that down the, maybe the end of this year or next year, maybe we can hang out at a show, have a beer or something. But yeah, thanks again for your time. I appreciate you.
Sounds good to me, mate. You look after yourself now, and have a good evening.